Can you guys hear us? All right.
Laura's trying to get in, but she can't get in for some reason.
Well, it's the same reason that we couldn't get out, because DMV's got all the phone lines tied up. And I hung up on us, so
Oh, she's in now.
The one line Tim managed to get, I screwed up. So we're talking on Tim's cell phone. Hope you can hear. That's not going to work well, though, Tim, when I got to have Chris make a. No, Chris's side. Chris's room.
No, we'll just have to do the pass the phone. Yeah, we are.
Okay. Okay. We got a couple of people that are going to be a little bit late. So I think we're going to, now that we've overcome the technical glitch I caused, after they overcame the technical glitches we had anyway, let's get going. We are theoretically in phase 3. That's 50% in restaurants. Group size has gone from 10 to 25. Just a couple of the quick reports from the state level. People in their 20s are now the leading demographic for our new cases. 20 to 29 is the highest group. Pools and playgrounds, the state guidance is it's going to be a local decision on how to do it until it isn't. They've had 2 or 3 around that have made their plans and started up, and then the state has jumped all over them. So the official word is it's local jurisdiction, say, until it isn't. The state is still dragging its feet on DMVs. I think that my personal opinion is they don't want to go through the planning and everything to open up their state DMVs and the counties that have state DMVs, and so they're holding the rest of us back. But and we had a question from this group on trail rides, which I brought down, and the trail rides have now been okayed. They had the horseback riding, one-on-one instruction okayed, but we got them to open up the trail rides. Youth sports continues to be a challenge. Theoretically, it opens up in phase 3, which is us today. However, it's kind of almost seems like stream of consciousness. As of yesterday, you could open up for practices, but no games or competitions until the 6th of July. And that's for regions in phase 3. So it's just all over the board. The child care was a big issue. It was brought to my attention by Kerry Warner. They were having trouble with, the limit of 10 kids thing, and we're in phase 3, so the group size is from 10 to 25, so that should have solved itself today. Hospitals have been allowed to do visitation plans, and we got them to extend that to nursing homes as of yesterday. So, or not that's wrong. The group homes, PDD homes. Nursing homes are still working on it. So the malls are still working on. We did get them to okay some of the restaurants in malls as long as they block off so people can't, wait around through the malls. They can still open the restaurant and just, go in and go to that. Our system here is completely overloaded with DMV calls. They're coming in through DSS. They're coming in through everywhere, and every phone line is tied up. So that, I think, is where we were as of yesterday with the state calls. And I wanted to have Chris go over with you just a little bit as to what the state of the county is right now with reopening. Now, I don't know if he can do that from his computer or if he's got to come over here and you got to come get this phone.
No, I won't.
I might.
Okay, so as far as county operations go, starting, was it last week? Yeah, everything blurs together. All the departments except for DMV are open by appointment only. DMV The clerk is hoping to open that on June 22nd, which would be next Monday. The issue is we are still working with the vendor to get the new appointment software up and running. So I think what the tentative plan is that if the software is not up and running on the 22nd, then the office will begin scheduling appointments. Currently, and as Mr. Henke referred to earlier, we had 468 calls fielded by the DSS switchboard on Monday morning for DMV. And I know anecdotally, I probably got 5 on my direct line. Sue got 10, Barb got a dozen. So there is a ton of questions out there from the public as far as what they can do, how they can do it, when they can do it. Starting Monday, if the appointment software is not up and running, we will begin actually scheduling appointments. We're still in a gray area. The Commissioner of Motor Vehicles is in a bit of a tiff with the governor. The governor's issued an executive order that you can't do in-person stuff until July 6th. But then we got guidance from the Commissioner of Motor Vehicles that we could start doing it. Some counties have already opened theirs. Warren County's is open, actually. And they haven't been slapped by the state. So I think right now our plan is to move forward on the 22nd. So presently, let's fast forward to Monday, the 22nd. Basically, everybody will be open by appointment only. Members of the public are being screened. Employees are being screened. Everybody's having to wear a mask. We did have a modification to the New York on Pause was passed last week or early this week. Everything runs together. That lifted the threshold for in-person gatherings from 10 to 25 people. So with that, we're looking to probably start a little bit more in-person business with the board and committees, but we're still working through the details of that and how we accommodate the public. It's kind of a by department decision as far as where departments are on staffing. So the directive to all departments has been you have to be able to accommodate the public. You have to be able to serve the public by appointment, but it's at the discretion of the department head as far as the staffing level and how exactly they are working that. So some departments that are at 100% staffing, some are at some percentage there under, and it's kind of across the board on a case-by-case basis. The goal, of course, still trying to be in some of our departments, our bigger departments, it's impossible to be at 100% staffing and maintain adequate social distancing. And the updated guidelines from the CDC that came down about 2 weeks ago are that even with a mask, if you are within 6 feet of somebody with a mask for more than, I believe it's 15 minutes or 30 minutes, that is considered for the purposes of contact tracing as a close contact. So in some of our bigger, more denser departments, it's impossible to be at 100% staffing and still maintain adequate social distancing. So the instruction of the department heads has been staff what you need to do to serve the public, but still try to maintain that to the greatest extent practicable. And that, until told otherwise by the board or the chairman, I believe that's our stance. So are there any questions about status of county operations?
Chris, thanks. Daryl here. Just a question about operations for the courts. I know that's a separate kind of line here up to the state, but just like the backlog we're experiencing in other, in all our county work, our court systems are starting to back up here. I know it doesn't sound like that, like that would be a problem in a little itty bitty community like Putnam, but we do have a throughput challenge with some of that. So any word on the legal side, what we're doing there? Are we going to stay closed?
Sure. Thanks, Mr. Wilson. I can't speak to the local courts. Perhaps District Attorney Jordan can. I know I had been in contact with the 4th Judicial District Administrative Judge, Judge Katina, and he had given me a timeline and a phased plan for courts, and they have kind of consistently slowed down what was in their original plan. So originally it was the Tuesday after Memorial Day, they were going to start phase 1. And then that got punted 2 weeks. And then we were told that, county court and family court were going to open up in person for, the more pressing matters, and then that got pushed back. So either Roger and or District Attorney Jordan can probably speak to that more eloquently than I, but the courts are being slower than we had originally been told in their reopening. And what we're being told, at least on the county level affected stuff, so county court and family court, is they're going to continue to utilize Skype for Business for a majority of things that don't require in-person. Unfortunately, I don't have information on what the magistrates are being told about the local courts.
For local courts, there's a general 4th Judicial District-wide adjournment of all pending matters through August 1st, unless the defendants are incarcerated. However, with the most recent administrative order from Judge Katina, they have encouraged courts to start doing Skype conferences. Basically have them get in touch with defense counsel, make sure defense counsel is talking to their clients, to have some progress there. They've also responded to some of our requests to at least encourage local courts, if there can be agreement on misdemeanors, to do plea by mail or virtual pleas through Skype for Business. They've also encouraged them to start accepting plea deals that have been mailed out on vehicle and traffic. We sent out a bunch of those across the county. Most courts were agreeable to get us the list of traffic tickets. Not all, but at least we were able to make a dent in that. So there's been some movement. I think what they're trying to do is get arraignments started. So they issued an order that says judges of their own can arraign people who had appearance tickets issued before April 1, but they, at the request of the prosecution or defense, can choose to arraign people that had appearance tickets issued after April 1. That's a little bit challenging because those have all been judicially adjourned. So now you got to try to find a way to get the defendants to actually come in and get arraigned. So some will, some won't, but it's a little bit of progress. County court is ahead of that curve with, they've pretty much opened up in the criminal world, all in-court appearances, except Department of Corrections cases and jury trials. So attorney conferences will be done via Skype still, but otherwise we're going to start to see a little bit more of a robust practice in county court. Hopefully starting, we've had some this week, some last week, and it's really going to start picking up next week. Not much help for our local courts, unfortunately, but the other challenge that I should mention for the supervisors that are on, the mandate is at no time can they exceed 25% capacity of the courtroom. And that's going to be a real challenge maintaining that in many of these local courts, some due to size, some due to volume. And I think that's probably what is going to cause the most delay in getting this started. No one to serve as a traffic cop, basically.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Okay, the other issue that I'm seeing that maybe should come to this group is while the affirmations are coming in really well to the region, they are not. We don't have a whole lot from Washington County. We seem to be, a pretty small list of businesses that actually have done the affirmations and things. I don't know if anybody's getting any questions or comments or calls on that. I have not personally, but I've been encouraging any of my businesses to, to go through the process and do it. And I see that most of the ones I've talked to have not yet. So it's not a hard process. I've done it myself, so it's not tough, but they should get to it. Okay, well, I think we'll do just like we did the last time. Run around the room, see if what the comments and things that you want to go back down to the state are. Any individual problems that come up in the area and things. Start with that. We'll go completely random just by the way I've got you on the screen here in front of me, and you can't tell that, so it'll be a surprise when I call on you. Mr. Wilson, you're first.
No, thank you. I think my biggest issue was just understanding where we were with the court system. So I think we're all set there. The only other piece, though, that I have a probably this isn't the forum to do it, but all the development folks that the folks that we have in our development loans out and so forth. I mean, I wonder how they're doing. I know we have another meeting. Hopefully, it gets scheduled to look at that from a board of directors standpoint, just to see what their status is and how well they've fared getting into phase 3, and whether or not we have issues with them. So, other than that, I'll wait for that meeting to talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Dave O'Brien.
No, I think we've covered most of everything, and there's been enough information out on the airwaves to talk about some of these things. So I think we're all set at this point.
Okay, I went through Hampton yesterday. It looked like they were completely out of control, but that's, I guess that's Matt Hicks.
Yeah, Bob, I guess, the public gets guidance that it's changed from 10 people to 25 people and that restaurants can open to 50%. And that's pretty well publicized. The governor does tell us that when it comes to enforcement of some of this stuff, it sort of falls to the local level. And we all get that, though we don't have the capacity to do anything about it. The only issue I have is what you mentioned before about the affirmations, because if they don't come in, when I get asked a question, I tell them to go to the Forward website and do the affirmation, et cetera. I'm not sure really a lot of businesses know that they're supposed to do that. And if they don't do that and they do open, is the governor going to assume that we're again the enforcement arm? And we're certainly not prepared to know that and know exactly who's been affirmed and who's not been affirmed and that kind of stuff. So we're sort of lost in a murky world there of they're supposed to be doing stuff. We don't know who's doing it and who's not doing it and who's supposed to be telling them to do it. And then if they haven't done it, who's going to go up to them and say, you can't do this unless this is done? That whole affirmation thing is, and the safety plan is a little bit lost in the sauce, I think, publicly. That's all.
Okay, maybe I wonder about a local news release or something on that. That might be an option. Okay, noted. Rebecca, sorry to hear about the fair.
Yeah, me too. But that's why I have lots of questions about it. My first question, though, is, I think is for Chris, who has a very nice backdrop today, Big Red. With the CDL and DMV, are they going to be given preference when the DMV opens? They're looking for help with their CDL license, or is it just going to be everybody all at once? Do we know that yet?
The priority of doing, testing and this sort of thing for the DMV, if the CDLs are going to go first.
Yes, that's what we told is that when DMV reopens, the directive coming from the state, it's up to the county clerk. I believe all the CDL license tests here are administered by the state, and the directive from the state is that CDL applicants will be given preference over standard driver's license.
Okay, could you hear that?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Okay.
And then kind of on the affirmation, and this is something I kind of brought up last week. One of the biggest questions that I've heard from a couple of businesses is they're really concerned about the legal liability. To take a look at their New York Forward plans. And so their concern is they're trying to do the right thing and apply and have their New York Forward plan and actually execute it. But they don't understand, by signing this affirmation, if no one looks at their New York Forward plan and says, yep, this is what you need to do, they're afraid that someone's going to show up at their door and say, well, you signed this affirmation saying you're doing everything perfectly right. That's a big concern for some of these small businesses. They're kind of paranoid, and I can't say that I blame them.
No, absolutely not. And that is something that we have brought up several times through the control room that, and I'm one of the ones that brought it up 2 or 3 times. Is, hey, who is looking at these plans? And each time it comes back from the state that, well, as long as they're doing it following the the stuff that's on the website, and there's a plan there. All you gotta do is just plug your name into that and you're fine. And if you do that, there's no liability, which none of us believe, but that's the guidance that we're, you know, that's all that's coming back out to us right now.
Yeah.
I'll bring it up again.
No, I appreciate it. Even with our fair closed, one thing I'll be honest, State Fair and where they're going with their life and what they're doing, wasn't a huge factor for our reason for cancellation. But I will say that it is a very hot topic. And we've been hearing rumors that State Fair was going to be canceled. The governor did get the question yesterday. He danced around it. We were wondering if there was any more information as to when we would get some sort of word as to what State Fair is planning on doing.
Okay, I'll bring that up again. I asked that before, and all I could get out of them was, well, the commissioners we were talking to felt it was 99% sure they were going to cancel it, but there was nothing official. So
no, I understand. And then finally, phase 4 guidelines. Even though we are not going to have a fair this year, we need to take a very hard look at other events, either this spring or this winter, to make up for lost income, because obviously we just took a huge hit. And so hopefully we can get those phase 4 guidelines sooner rather than later, as to what will be expected of us, because right now we're just going on assumption. And that's all I have.
Okay, I mentioned that when they were doing the phase 3 guidelines. I'll mention it now that they're ready to do the phase 4 guidelines. See what happens. Okay. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thanks, Bob.
Deanna? I have a daughter-in-law named Dina, and I keep screwing that up. I'm sorry. You're still muted, Deanna. Nope. Okay. You want to do sign language, or all right? I'll go on. You can work on it. Tony Jordan.
I'm good. All I had to add was what Supervisor Wilson had asked.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Biddle. You weren't late joining us at all because I screwed up the phone line and they had to completely reset the system up. So you were perfect.
Thank you for covering for me, Bob. I had written you and you've got a lot going on, but I'd like to catch up with you later today. I had written you and Chairman Hall with a large sports complex that wants to do the right things and would like to connect with the right people at the county level to be proactive and have we've been working with them on a robust policy and procedure plan for safety and health. We know we're still far away as far as phase 4 and phase 4 guidance, but I would like to hook up with you later today if I could, just to throw a couple things at you and make sure that we're hooking this gentleman up with the right people. That's
okay.
One. Is that
one.
Good? Okay.
Yep, that's good.
2, we're happy to help at the chamber, and I don't want to throw Deanna and Laura Oswald under the bus, but I think if we did a joint press release on the importance of signing off on the guidance and that we're here to help. And I agree with my twin sister, Rebecca Breeze, that, it's not, all of the small businesses want to do the right thing. It's just nervousness, not being through this before, maybe a little worry and lack of trust with some of the things going on. But let's hug them, let's love them, let's get them the right answers, and let's help them sign these things off, because it really isn't that monumental once you get through it. So that's 2. And then number 3, we're doing a press conference tomorrow morning at the Aviation Mall to push for indoor mall shopping. It's great that restaurants have the option to do that, but it's a lot of the norm here throughout this. You have like businesses being able to do something and parallel businesses not being able to do it. And that's where some of the lack of trust and faith comes in, not only with those affected, but others, because other businesses are saying, well, what's going to happen next? So the more we can communicate with them, and again, that press release that I totally would love to be a part of, and Laura and Deanna, who are making faces at me right now, I'm sure. Not at all. Would love to be a part of it.
We can't hear Deanna, so it's okay.
Can you hear me now?
Right.
Can you hear me
I
now?
love it.
Can you hear me or no?
Yes.
Yes, I fixed it.
So the other part is the phase 4 has now been pushed to July 6th. The amount of impact that is having on our phase 4 participants, just in case the governor doesn't realize it, the 4th of July is the biggest weekend for our area, period. And the difference that July 1st, July 3rd would make as opposed to July 6th is the difference between some people staying in business and some not. And I'm not speaking in hyperbole. We literally have a lot of businesses on life support. So to be able to have that and not wait till July 1st to announce that, oh, by the way, if it could be changed from July 6th to July 3rd, tomorrow would be a great time to announce that. Wait, yesterday would be a great time to announce that, but not to wait to the last minute would be a big difference. So that's what I have. We're still pumping out information day and night here for guidance. But if anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to call or something that we should bring attention to as well. I did send Chairman Hall and Chris. Are you still on the line, Mr. DeBolt?
Yes, sir.
That you received that tax information. I saw that you responded. And on what our May looked like for sales tax revenue in every county across the state. And it is not pretty. Chris, just as a side note, Westchester County looks up only for one reason year over year, because their sales tax went from 3% to 4%. When you factor that back out, they're down 39% as well. So just to put that out there. And Chris, feel free to share with anybody on the line, okay? Or if somebody wants that information, feel free to contact me. Supervisor, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Mike. Deanna, we can come back to you now that you're live again.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that from the LDC end, we've been working on a survey to send out to our loan list of businesses in order to get some direct feedback so that we have something to analyze, for this group and obviously for the LDC Board of Directors as well. And I did want to thank Mike Biddle and Amanda Blanton from the Chamber for helping us, put that together to get ready to send out to everybody. So I will have some more data for you guys, and I'll share that with the whole committee when we do start getting those responses back.
Thank you. Laura Oswald just disappeared. Okay. Well, looks like Laura is done
We're
about
back
the
in
same thing I
office and
did.
trying to figure out some glitches here.
Yeah. Mr. Dexter, something yeah. Hang
I'm
on,
here.
Laura.
Can you hear me?
Okay, let's go back to Laura. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Just one quick thing, and since Mike Biddle tried not to throw Deanna and I under the bus, I'll try not to throw Mike under the bus. Lake George Chamber has been doing a sort of a marketing thing that basically is an outreach to take a health and safety pledge, and we were invited to.
Well, you just disappeared again, Laura. Can you hear us?
Are you there? Sorry.
We are now.
Okay, so I don't know how much that you heard, but it sort of seems to me that like if both Adirondack and Lake George Chamber and counties could work together to maybe do a promotional, it goes back to what Dave O'Brien was saying, how many people are even aware that they should be looking at this. We could do something like that, an outreach effort to say, hey, let's all take the pledge and be aware of what's going on and what's necessary to do these plans. So, you know, I think it's an idea, a good one. And, you know, Mike, maybe we can talk a little bit more about that later.
So, great. I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm glad that you did fill in the whole picture. It is a joint effort between the Lake George Chamber and the Adirondack Regional Chamber of Commerce, and something that I'm really excited about. It's a Lake George Southern Adirondack Region health and safety pledge that people can put a sticker on their door once they adhere to the pledge, which can be found on the Lake George Chamber website and the Adirondack Regional Chamber website. And it involves signing off on that guidance that you were talking about earlier, and that I know we're all trying to get our businesses to sign off on. So Laura's spot on, but we're happy to get that out to everybody, to have that be part of maybe the press release. But Laura's spot on. It should help us tremendously, and also, again, have businesses lean on us to help them through this.
Right, and we can put it out on our Facebook tourism platform, because and that goes back to a lot of small businesses that may not even be aware of the pledge and the plan that they're supposed to be doing. So it's one of the ways that we can do some outreach.
Okay, thank you. Let's return to Mr. Dexter.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's well. So a few things going on with school districts of note. The first, of course, is the graduation. I know you've all heard of it, and districts were greatly relieved to have a little bit more flexibility with the graduation requirements. The second thing is as far as reopening, most of us run programs for students with disabilities. They're very specially developed for children in the summer. So the governor originally said all has to be virtual. Then on June 5th, kind of threw out a interesting executive order that says it may be in person. It's quite a complicated process because you have to obviously follow the IEPs, but there's a number of federal requirements whether or not you're providing what's called a free appropriate public education. And to date, the U.S. Department of Education hasn't changed any of the guidelines. So in other words, if we do the programs, we have to do them as for all children, and we have great liability risk. There's a ton of attorneys out there if we don't do it right and getting sued. And the interesting thing is if we do virtual and we treat it the same as other children, then we're kind of protected. But the reality is the only guidance, we've been begging for guidance from the U.S., from the state education department or the governor. And when there was a DOH guidance document that was released, but it was really not designed for schools or programs. So for example, we'll do 12-1-2 programs or 12-1-4. So autistic children often. And so we can't have most of these children, the guidance says they have to sit 6 feet apart in desks. These children are clinging to adult, they do one-on-one instruction with adults. That's how they learn. That's how they experience the classroom. They can't sit at a desk. They can't wear a mask. And then they need there's speech therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy, all of which has to be cleaned in between. And then we'd have to split the classrooms. I mean, 2 teachers, 8 teaching assistants for the ratios. We just can't pull it off. We've tried everything we can. We've begged for guidance. I've contacted the Congresswoman's office, the state education department. Will just refuses to answer any questions on it right now. So our attorneys have been working on it. So we announced today that we're not offering those programs this summer, which breaks our heart because it's what we do. That has implications. A number of school districts are going to be following. The legal liability is insane. We will get sued. There's no doubt about it, probably either way. But there are a number of parents this is going to greatly affect, and it's really a problem. But we just can't figure out a way to do it. Plus, we obviously we can't mandate our staff work it and all sorts of things like that. So I just want to let you know it's where we are. It's not the best spot to be, but it is where we are and where a number of districts are going to be. The other thing is we have been working on with all the districts in the region, not just Washington County, but we have 7 regional work groups trying to start thinking about we've been working for a few weeks, at least identifying the issues that we need to think about for opening in the fall, but we don't have any guidance. So we generally work under the state education department for regulatory guidance. They are putting together some guidance, but their guidance is going to stick strictly to where they have regulatory authority, which means, and the governor, of course, doesn't control the state education department, which is kind of a thing. Although right now he has been to some degree. But the real life implication for us is we're expecting that we're going to get some guidance from the Department of Health, some guidance from the Department of Motor Vehicles, some guidance from the state education department. In other states, they've kind of brought all those pieces together and then put together some comprehensive guidance for school districts and how to plan to come back. So we don't anticipate that. The governor has said that he's going to have, districts are going to have to put in plans to come back. The state education department says, we're not interested in having you do plans. So we're going to really rely on these regional work groups, and then districts will have their own planning committee. We just don't know the rules. We don't know the rules for transportation. We don't know, there's real practical concerns. Some people said, well, why don't you just split the kids up, do some virtual, some non-virtual? But from an economic standpoint, parents need to go to work, and people forget that I think people often think about high school kids, but if you're a second grader, you can just stay home by yourself, and it's just not going to work. And so it's kind of almost an all or nothing solution for a lot of parents. So we're very concerned about that. And I just happen to also be, which is ironic because I'm probably the most unathletic person in the world, but I'm on the state athletic commission I'm a music person by nature, but I'm not there for my lack of my athletics, of course, but I'm on a statewide work group for athletics. And we're also trying to figure out what does it look like for school district athletics to come back. As you can imagine, those start, August 24th or somewhere in the neighborhood. So we're working on that. We did release some guidance for off-season workouts for school districts across the state. Obviously, they do have to be in phase 4. The district has to be willing to allow off-season workouts to occur on site. And there's a whole host of rules depending on what phase the region is in and what the students can do. Those have to be voluntary. They have to be open to all students. I don't think you're going to see a lot of that this summer, but the athletic stuff is going to start creeping up on us sooner than later. So it is going to be a very, very busy summer for us. And, we'll see. And then, of course, like all organizations, we don't know how the budget's going to affect us, but that's not really what this group is about. So I don't know if there's any questions on schools. I went over a lot of stuff really quickly, but we are in planning mode for fall right now. And once we have some guidance, we'll have a better sense of what we can or can't do.
So it sounds like you get 2 problems, one with no guidance and one with too much different guidance.
Yeah, I think
different.
I probably could have said it a hell of a lot more efficiently. Excuse me.
Well,
my wife says that to me often, but it's true.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Dexter? Patty Hunt, you got anything for us? Okay, well, I guess we can't hear Patty. Anybody else on there that wants to bring anything else back up? Do you have something, Tim?
You can just relay that we have hand sanitizer and cloth masks for any businesses that are in need of hand sanitizer or cloth masks. Just reach out to us. I think the chairman's going to do an informational release later on today, and I'll have that information.
Okay. if you didn't hear that, Tim just realized that the county does have hand sanitizer and cloth masks for any businesses that are having trouble coming up with them. There should be a news release on that this afternoon. Okay, anything else you want me to take to the control room? Okay, everybody's sitting there mute. I guess we're done. Thank you. Wait, we gonna do this again? Another week? Another
Yeah.
2 weeks?
Bob, I don't know. It's to the discussion on phase 4 planning. This is Daryl, by the way. I turned my video off so I wasn't hogging bandwidth for everybody who are trying to just voice in. Phase 4 planning. It's about understanding phase 4 planning. And that's kind of where I would recommend another meeting. When that happens, I guess maybe up to you based on what your interactions are down at the state.
Well, things are kind of really in a state of flux every time we turn around. We think that we've got some really good guidance and we're going ahead and everything is wonderful. Then all of a sudden there's another glitch. So I would almost recommend doing this in a week. I hate to take a whole bunch of your time, but I think maybe we'll set it up. We'll do one for next Wednesday and then see how we go from there. Is that okay with everybody? Heads are all shaking. Okay.
Yep, good.
Okay. I'll try and not hang up on us next week. Okay, we're done. Thanks, Tim.
See you, everyone.
Yeah.
Yep.